Today, I want to talk about market conditions analysis. I've talked about that quite a bit, and I want to show you uh, a step back from what we normally talk about. I've talked a lot about creating a custom index to really track price changing in a market, and I want to show how this visual that I've created here can be really helpful in explaining the why of price change. So if I were to show you, let's see. So this would be my market index output in terms of this is the pricing data that I've put in. I've filtered it, I've modeled it, and I've smoothed it out so I can really see more clearly how prices have really changed. But it doesn't really always answer the why question. Well, why have prices changed? And that can be really helpful for two reasons. Number one, it can be helpful to help the client to understand that your output is valid. It can also be really helpful in helping to you question your output and to really to make sure that you don't have compositional shift in your market. So what I mean by that is the say is a median price that you notice is changing, is that really you've got apples to apples properties that are really changing in price, or do you have a change in price, but really when you look at the internals of that data, well, you have a different property that's being represented in that median price. So when we're looking at sort of that step back, we can help to give ourselves as the analyst and our users of our appraisals more confidence. And so I've been using this chart, or this set of charts actually, more recently in my reports to help kind of drive home that. So let's look at analyzing this market in real time using using these three supply and demand metrics to help explain what's been happening in prices. So let's go back real quick to and I'm really wanting to focus on maybe the last year of what was happening in this market, and you can see if we're focusing on the end point here, prices were more or less stable, and then started to decline, maybe early summer, late spring. And so let's validate that. Let's think about, okay, what was really going on in the market? And that's where this output can be really helpful. So at the top, what we have is median days on market. Now, let me point out really quick that the time span of this output is different. For my price indexing, I like to go back a lot further so I can sort of see longer term pricing trends. Here, I'm really focused on more recent changes. I could go back further, but that's what I've been doing lately. So let's really look at what's happened in this market that coincides with price changes. So we can see that since the beginning of 2025, we had our days on market decline, and then ever since mid-spring, they have been consistently rising. Very similarly, we had a run up in the median percentage of original price, that sale list ratio. It increased till about that same point and then has consistently declined. And last, we can see that the month supply of inventory actually consistently increased beyond that inflection point that we saw before, and then has started to fall. So how can we as the analyst explain this? Well, what I'm seeing is that not surprisingly for the time of year, you have increases in demand. earlier in the year. And so that explains why we see the days on market fall. But we also have supply increasing at a rate that's outpacing that demand. So initially, while we see that sale list ratio increase, it's short-lived because the inventory is spiking. And so as the inventory continues to rise and hits this peak, what happens? Houses have been sitting on the market longer. There's more competition, so people begin to discount. They're really becoming more motivated sellers, and that means that in order for the inventory to be absorbed, so if we're really focusing on this month's supply of inventory for a moment, well, where's that inventory going? Well, houses are being discounted so they can move, and they are moving once the price is discounted. And so that actually fits really well with what I'm seeing. Now I'm noticing that month supply inventory is now, getting back to maybe a level that was more consistent with where the year started. So that probably tells me that I should expect that this decline may not continue. I would suspect that over the next couple of months, prices would level out, and then the next seasonal cycle, we'll have to see what happens in terms of that relative balance or imbalance between supply and demand. And so right now, what I've got is some charts here that really help me to explain to my user, hey, what I'm showing you in terms of price trends here is really supported by what the market dynamics that I'm showing you here. And so that can be a really helpful output. It's one that I've really started to enjoy including in my analysis. So instead of me just saying that, typing that out in a narrative, it's really nice to have a supply and demand metric visual which goes along with that. And this just helps us to support our own analysis, to make sure we're not missing something, to take an extra step of being better understood by our users, and really just enhances our credibility.